Welcome to the Channe Show, hosted by yours truly, Kavita Channe. Today we're joined by entrepreneur, influencer, blogger, educator, traveler, author, and mama, Karen Apkan, aka the Momtrotter, to talk about traveling with your kids, living in an RV, and much, much more. Thank you so much for joining us on the Channe Show, Karen. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So now you've been married to your husband, Sylvester, for 10 years. You have a son. His name's Aiden. You guys are avid travelers, 25 states and 29 countries. When did you decide that this is going to be the path that you were going to take as a parent? Because most people, when they have children, they stop traveling.
Right. Well, I would say like after having, my son, I kind of just looked at him and we just, we had to show him the world and show him what was out there.
Yeah. And so were you an avid traveler prior to this?
To be honest with you, not as much. I feel like I've traveled more after having having him than I have before. I know everyone's always like, usually people travel a lot before, and then when they have kids, they kind of want to, model that. For me, I feel like it's a little bit different. It's like, having him just gave me that push, to want to travel more.
So how did you get inspired to do this? How did you come to this decision where you said, listen, I wasn't a big traveler before, but now that we have this son, he's amazing, and I want to be this mom, and I want to be this family that travels all around the world. What gave you that kind of inspiration to do that?
Just to see change. I feel like change in the world. I feel like, raising him as a global citizen, just raising him, being open and accepting of other cultures will make a huge difference, just to raise a better next generation.
Absolutely. So I always say that I'm a citizen of the world. And then when I saw your Instagram, I love that you said global citizen. So have you always thought of yourself as a global citizen, or is this just kind of a thing you adopted as a parent when you're thinking about raising your son?
I would say definitely thinking about raising him. I didn't think of that prior to that. It probably occurred to me, but not as much as having him and more conscious about, what he's learning, what he's seeing, how he's interacting with people, how he's talking to people, communicating with people. It definitely made a huge difference.
Well, in order to travel so much, you have to homeschool. And of course, now with what's going on in the world with the global pandemic, homeschool is becoming more and more popular. But you also talk about unschooling. So what is that?
I get asked that question all the time about what unschooling is. Unschooling is self-directed learning. So what we do is that we let him choose what he wants to learn when he wants to learn it. And we've noticed such a huge difference in him learning, because when kids learn what they want to, they do so much better and they retain much more information. So we've noticed him, like learning how to read, learning math and science and everything at his own time has allowed him to retain so much more information than if, I was just kind of like putting it on him. I think we as parents have to trust our instincts and trust ourselves to know that we are our children's first and best teacher. So just being able to see him, and because initially when, he turned 5, and started kindergarten, I thought, oh, maybe we would use a curriculum or we would go that route. But by 5, he was reading, and I had never sat down and say, hey, you have to do this. And, it just everything that he picked up on his own as he was, learning and growing. So I realized that children are they're self-learners. They'll learn, as long as you give them that environment and nurture them, they'll pick up things and you'll be shocked at, how much they're learning along the way.
And then obviously you have to follow some sort of curriculum in terms of like math, science, and whatnot. And then they have to do the testing, and you have to apply with the state to do homeschooling. So how do you manage all of that? Is someone helping you with that? And then also, how many hours a day do you dedicate to homeschooling?
So with unschooling, we don't do any of that. We don't use a curriculum. We don't do any testing. I am not a big fan of testing. I just feel like, some children are they know things, and some people just don't test well. So I'm just not a big fan of testing, deciding how well a child does or how much they know. So we don't do any testing. We don't use any curriculum either. With unschooling, a lot of states allow unschooling where, you just basically apply and let the state know that you'll be homeschooling them on your own, and they trust that you know what you're doing.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm not sure if we have that in Florida. What tips do you have for moms who want to homeschool their kids, who don't have the teaching background that you do, and, who are thinking about doing that right now?
My number one thing I always say is trust your instincts. Everything, like learning happens even when you don't see it. I tell everybody that. So even when I'm in the kitchen cooking and my son comes in and we're cooking together, that's learning. If I'm online, and I'm shopping for groceries through, Instacart, and I usually, give it to him and have him add groceries and add up the amounts, that's math. So there's learning happening, even just playing a video game. He's learning coding. So there's There's so much to learn at home that doesn't have to be structured if that's what you want. If you like structure, oh, there are tons of curriculum for that. But if you don't, care for structure, there's so many other ways that children can learn.
I love it. And I think it's so interesting. And I think it's definitely something for parents to consider because you're right. Just cooking with your child. The other day, my daughter said she wanted to buy something on Amazon. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? Do you have an account?
Exactly.
Just because you see
Exactly.
mommy going on her phone buying on Amazon, it's because I have an account. And I said, how are you going to pay for that? Do you have a credit card? I don't think you do.
So, I mean, everything's learning. So right there, she's learning, okay, if I need to shop on Amazon, I need an account, I need a card, I need this, I need that, so it gives them ideas and it's just going to start thinking, okay, money. So how do I get money? So now you start to talk to ideas. Now that's a whole lesson. You can get money by working. You can get money by doing this. You can get money by, so everything, I feel like it's a learning experience. You just have to expound on it, just that's what it is.
Absolutely. And on top of this, you're doing something so exciting that so many people wish that they could do. You're actually doing it. You recently bought an RV. You're living in the RV with your family, traveling around, and you also renovated it. So when did you decide to do that? What's that been like? And then tell us about the renovation.
We just got up one day. I was watching this video on YouTube and about, Americans having too much house. That's exactly what it is. Like, Americans have way too much house. And it struck me. And I was like, wait, that is true. We do have way too much house. Why do we need all this? So the first thing we did, I told my husband, I said, we got to sell it. So we sold our home, bought an RV, just on Facebook Marketplace, actually. And then my husband, we found some pictures online on some Facebook groups. And I showed him what I wanted. And he basically did all the renovation. And so far, it's been great. I don't know. It's been so amazing being together, as a family every day. I mean, right now with everything going on, we're very slow traveling. So we're doing, just outdoor activities like hiking and just things like that, still socially distancing as much as possible. But it's so nice to be, just together all the time and have each other.
Well, what are the pros and cons to RV life? And I just want all the details, like the cooking, how do you do laundry? How do you stay safe? Just give us the scoop.
Cons? I can't even think of any right now. I love it so much. Everyone's like, there's always something. But, my biggest thing is like, you got to really understand, like for somebody, they said, con was just having to, go to a laundromat to do laundry. But for me, that's not a problem because I love the lifestyle. So having to go do laundry once a week or once every 2 weeks doesn't really bother me too much. But it may bother some people. So what we do is that we stay at RV parks a lot. And the RV parks are like the one we're at now is really amazing. They have a laundromat, they have a clubhouse, they have a pool.
Wow.
They have security, it's gated. So RV parks are really nice. So depending on which ones you stay at. So we have no issues with safety. We get our mail at the front desk. And the kids go to the pool, there's a playground. So it's really nice.
Wow. Did you find different RV parks in different areas? Are there a lot of them and that are gated?
Oh, there are a lot. There are a lot of RV parks. They're everywhere.
This is blowing my mind. There's this whole other world of people living like this that we don't even know about, that are just traveling and getting to do what they want and having the freedom to be on the road. I love it. I commend you for doing that. How is your son acclimating to that? Does he love it?
Oh my God, he was meant for this. This is him. He's up in the morning. He's out playing with the kids, because we've met so many families too who live the same lifestyle like we do. And we meet them at the parks. So he wakes up in the morning, has breakfast, he goes out and plays, So he's loving it. He's adapted so well.
We'll pivot a little bit. You are the founder of Black Kids Do Travel. It is a Facebook group that I think it has over 18,000 followers, and you help so many people raise awareness about, traveling when you're a different ethnicity. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that and how you help the families.
So anyway, Black Kids Do Travel was started because a lot of times I was in a lot of travel groups. And when you talk about just ask a question simply like, oh, can I go here with my family? People don't understand that. They don't understand why it's even a question that needs to be asked. You don't understand that going to a certain place may not be safe for me, or driving through a certain area, or just being in a certain country. It's so different, and nobody understood that. So Black Kids Do Travel, I love that because these are families, Black families, who can just ask questions and be free to ask those questions. Can I go here? Am I safe here? What did you do with your kids there? What did your kids enjoy here? So it's like a community of families just who've come together and just really encourage each other. And I really love that.
Are there countries that you feel like as a Black family that you don't feel comfortable visiting?
I wouldn't say not feel comfortable because I always tell everybody that everyone's experience is always different. But you want to know beforehand, just in case. That's my thing. Like, for example, like we visited China and we've been there like twice already, and we love it. We love, my son and I love visiting China. But every time we go there, they, we've had somebody come up to him and try to wipe his skin, like literally just see if it'll come off. So strange. We were sitting at a table eating, and a lady walks by. She kept circling us. We thought it was kind of weird, and then she walks up really quick and then tries to like wipe his hand off to see if it was so strange. But
What?
things like that, if you're going there, you want to know that. So not that I'm not going to tell people not to go to China, because like I said, we love visiting China. We've been there twice already. However, there are things that, if traveling there, you want to know, like, so you already, because you can prepare yourself. That's my biggest thing. Prepare yourself for what's to come.
That's so interesting because again, it's like if you are not Black, you wouldn't even know that that's a thing. So,
Right.
but then again, there's a lot of countries, you can go as an American and they're not going to like you because you say you're American. So it does exist. And this is why I love you raising awareness about it, because unless it affects you directly, most people don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's great
Right.
that you're helping
True.
all of these families. I'm a big believer in respectful care, which is the way that I am with my children and what I like to follow, and Montessori, like I told you. You often speak about gentle parenting, and I love it. It's so easy as a parent to get frustrated, right? So a lot of parents can go from like 0 to 100 because they're multitasking, doing a million things. Maybe you can just explain or elaborate how gentle parenting is even possible with being a parent, because it is
Right.
hard to be a parent.
Right. So gentle parenting, the number one thing is, as the parent, to always check yourself. If you feel like, just take a minute. If you feel like you're getting frustrated, you're getting upset, just always take a minute. And one of the things that I've for me, is to understand that children will do things. It will happen. It's the way you address the situation that matters a lot. So you've got to understand that they're little kids, they're children, they're growing, they're learning. They're going to test you, they're going to test boundaries. But
Absolutely.
the way you deal with it is, I feel like, it's what matters the most. So if I feel like, I'm getting stressed, or just like, I take a minute. But like I said, as a parent, it's so important to check yourself, because you want to be careful how you address things with them.
Aiden is so lucky that he gets to have this life with you and that you're providing all these like life lessons and life learning and travel for him, because I mean, that's just what so many adults wish they could have for themselves, and you're providing it for your child. So I commend that. I also wanted to talk about that your store, Berry Pop Kids, you have an Etsy store, if that's not another thing to add to the million things that you do. What do you get there? How are you inspired by that? How did Berry Pop Kids come about?
That's actually Aiden's store. When we started Black Kids Do Travel, we talked about making shirts for it. And so, we worked together to like design them and figure out, what would look best on the shirts. And then we had them printed. So that's all Aiden right there. I just try to support him and guide him.
So Aiden is the one coming up with the designs, and this is his store. 7-year-old Aiden has his own Etsy store, and people are buying up those items you got on there. I checked it out. I loved the vacay quotes. I loved all of it. I thought they were so cute. Aiden,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Now, Aiden is also an actor and a model, and I don't know how you have time to travel, but then also do auditions and whatnot. So how are you making it happen?
It's been busy. It's been hectic. So there are a lot of times when I'm like, Aiden, you got to choose travel or work. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, because he really enjoys doing both. For me, that's what's so important, is for him to do what he enjoys doing. So I always try to let him pick, like, we're going to be here, but you have this, work or this audition. What would you rather do? So I try to make sure to, ask him, what he wants to do. So we try to fit it in there as much as we can. But now that we're on the road, with everything going on, we may have to slow down on that a little bit, but he's really enjoyed it.
So basically, when you were living in a house, it was easier. Obviously, now that you're on the road more, it's more difficult. Is he taking that okay? And then also, I'm guessing he has an agent. So the agent's aware that obviously when you're in what town, you can go on auditions and things like that, or how does it work?
So basically, we're out of California now. Most of the auditions were like in LA. So I don't know how that's going to work. So he's probably going to take a break from it for a little bit. And he's taking it because he's really enjoying this, though. Aiden is like, he's always trying something new or trying to get into something new. He still takes acting classes, but he takes it via Zoom now. So He really likes doing that with his friends and his acting coach. He still enjoys doing that. So hopefully by the time we, head back to California, he'll be ready.
That's amazing. Do you have tips for parents that want to get their kids into acting and modeling, or maybe their children want to get into acting and modeling?
I say do it. I've read so many, the first time I shared, that Aiden was doing it, I had a bunch of parents who said, "Oh my God, I love this. This is amazing." And then there were other people that said, "Oh, I'm forcing things on my child. I'm making them do what I want to do." And I said, "Oh, you haven't met Aiden. He is like, if you bring a camera now, you are going to see his person. He loves being behind the camera, pictures, video, I mean, whatever it is." So it's always been something that I did because he enjoyed it and he liked it. So my number one tip is do it because your kids like it and because they want to do it, not because it's something that you're forcing them to do, because then that becomes a problem for them. And, it really changes things. And then, find modeling agencies in your area. My number one tip is don't pay any money. I see people paying money all the time, like, "Oh, they want me to pay $1,000. No, it's a lie. That's all fake. It shouldn't cost you anything. We've never paid a dime for anything. Aiden makes money. If he does a shoot, his agent gets a cut and then he gets paid, but we've never had to pay anybody for anything.
What about the
So
pictures?
always
Don't you
beware
have
of
to
that.
have like it's called like a comp card or something? Did you have
Yeah,
to
like
buy?
so initially so my husband and I took Aiden's pictures. We always did. It wasn't until recently that we actually paid somebody to take them. But you can pay a photographer $100, $200, depending on where you are, to get some headshots. Otherwise, there's no money to be on any, you don't have to pay to be on a roster. You don't have to pay to be on any website. You can take pictures by yourself or just pay, just a photographer to take them. But it doesn't cost anything upfront.
I love that. Those are such great tips because a lot of times people do get scammed. So, I love that you've given
All the
that
time.
all the time. People can follow you at
Yes.
Momtrotter on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you even have your blog, themomtrotter.com. I love that name. You have a bazillion followers. I think you have like 90,000, 95,000 plus followers on Instagram. How the heck did you get so many followers? I mean, there's that many families that want to travel, right?
Yeah. So it started off, like I said, even with the blog, it just happened. I started off just sharing pictures, and then people were interested in finding out how are we traveling on a budget, because I write a lot about budget travel. My number one is I want families to travel, and we don't do, like, we're not luxury travelers. We don't have a ton of money. So I wanted to show families how they can still get out and travel with their families without going bankrupt, without going broke. That was my biggest thing. So it started off as that. And then a lot of people showed interest in it. And just like that, it is what it is now. So it's amazing how it's grown so much from, when I started.
It is amazing. Maybe you can just give us, before we go, your top 3 tips on budget traveling with your family.
Be flexible. Number one, that's what we do. We travel when it's flexible. We don't, if you're trying to travel during a specific time, you may have a harder time finding tickets. But if your travel dates are flexible, it's so easy to book cheap tickets. Number 2, accommodation. We've stayed in hostels. People don't even know that they're family-friendly hostels. We visited Chicago. Hotels in Chicago, downtown Chicago, cost a gazillion. So we stayed in a hostel in Chicago, and it was great. We loved it. So be flexible with your accommodation. It doesn't matter if it's Airbnb or if it's a hostel, if it's a hotel. Just find whatever is cheap. And if you're not picky about it, you're definitely going to enjoy that. And then when it comes to tours, we do a lot of self-tours. So we don't pay for a lot of, excursions and things like that. We do it on our own. We read about it, learn about it, and then go to wherever it is and talk about it there, with the kids. So we're not paying anybody to give us a tour of something that we can learn on our own.
Thank you so much, Karen. This has been so informative. And I know so many moms are going to benefit from following you and from listening to this episode with you. You are awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is Karen, aka the Momtrotter, and you're watching the Channe Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe below.